Microsoft Excel, Blue Box 23. We can return to the normal view if we wish by simply clicking on the normal view button at the bottom of the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and then lets us navigate to the different views, the normal page layout or page break preview. In this exercise, what we are going to do is we are going to change the margins. So I've already done it, but let me start at home, which is normally where we start from on the ribbon. I'm going to click on the page layout tab. You'll notice that most of the things that we were working on in this section are related to the page layout tab. I can choose the margins, and my margins by default, when I click on the down triangle here, we've got normal, wide, and narrow. I'm going to go ahead and select wide in this example, and what that's going to do is it's going to bring in and give us more white space around the edge of the page. We could choose narrow, or we can even go back and choose custom margins where we define exactly what we're interested in. Notice it brought me also to the page setup box here, which means I could have done something very similar by just simply clicking on page setup and heading over to margins. Okay. Again, I'm going to select, though, to make sure that the code is the same by selecting wide in this section. Okay, so narrow or normal, narrow, and wide default choices related to what margins could look like. We're going to select wide in this case, although you could customize your margins if that's what you were interested in doing. In this particular case, it may be that although we're okay with what we have in this particular instance, but it is conceivable that we may not actually see the content fully on a single page. And if that's the case, then we can force the scaling, meaning we can effectively, even though we might tell it one font, shrink the fonts down to make sure that it allows us to print the page, get the number of pages given we've specified. So on this assignment, if we choose to fit all columns on one page, again, on the page layout tab of our ribbon, you'll notice that there's a section called Scale to Fit. And in this particular case, we're going to choose from automatic to one page. Now this will force, no matter how wide our width is of this worksheet, it's going to print out on a single page. So let me just type the word page over here just to show you what I mean. It's going to force everything onto a single page. You do not need to write that page in that in N5, but I want to just simply show you, and I'll erase it here in a second, what I mean in terms of what we have. Notice it's going to shrink down everything to ensure that we can get all the content that's going to be printed across the width of a single page. Okay, and so that is that shrinks the width of the pages. It doesn't necessarily shrink how many pages we have. It's just going to make the width of a single page. And so that becomes important in terms of how we think about our scaling. Let me go ahead and delete that so we don't, or clear it so we don't have that in there. Now, if I go back to the print preview, we'll see it looks a little wider in terms of what's going to get printed out. So that's what scaling will allow us to do, and that is done within the set margin. So if we want more on a page, we could have gone to a narrow set of margins, and if we wanted less, we could have gone on a wider set of margins. If we wanted less on a page, or we wanted more white space around the edges of the page, but we want everything on a single page, or the width at least to amount to the scaling for a single page, then we set this to one page. Again, what this is going to do is figure out how to shrink the font down to fit the width of the worksheet on a single page. So there can be multiple pages height-wise. And that's why it's important to understand the difference between setting the page width to one page versus the height to one page versus both. Your scaling could be different under each of those three scenarios.